All right, man. We are back. GYGB War Report. Lots to discuss, man. Lots to absorb.
All smiles over here.
All smiles. Yeah, for sure, man. You notice we're all, more than normal. But yeah, lots to take in from this weekend. Obviously, we just saw Errol Spence defeat your Dennis Ugas by what was it, like a 9th round stoppage, 9th and 10th round.
10th round, 9th, 10th, somewhere.
9th and 10th, yeah, and obviously, we'll get into that. He's now has 3/4, and I say that, widely 3/4 of the welterweight titles, and we'll talk about that later on. But we do have a heavyweight title fight this weekend, man. That I think is gone, or at least a stateside. Let me just be fair. Before we hopped on, we were talking about how obviously there was a big fight this weekend, but I think what's culminating in the fall has the attention of all, not only the boxing public, but obviously the sports world too. But nevertheless, there is a heavyweight title fight, granted, across the pond. We'll talk about that first. That of Tyson Fury. This is his first fight since the third, the trilogy fight with Deontay Wilder, in which he stopped him, and retained his titles. And he's now facing a guy that has been waiting for a title shot for some time now, and that is Dillian Whyte. Missed 2 appearances, like the official lead up to the fight. I think another press conference, and then he finally showed up. I think yesterday, and then they mouthed off and the whole nine. But before we hopped on, man, and I guess this is where the UK and how us in the United States differ as it concerns just the crowds that come to these fights in the UK. They're reporting 94,000 people are going to be there Saturday night, States, UK side. For us, again, it's a reminder. It's an ESPN pay-per-view. I don't know if you were aware of that, Trey.
No, I didn't know that. Okay.
ESPN pay-per-view on a Saturday afternoon with what going on right now. A little thing called the NBA playoffs.
Translation, we don't really care about the American market for this fight.
Right,
that's what it is. That's just like...
Yeah, right. So if you're going to be ordering this pay-per-view, it is, I believe, a 2 p.m. start time, the card, Eastern time, and then the main event is probably going to take place around 5:30 as usual. But real quick, let me shoot it to you, man. Like, what do you take from this fight?
Dylan Whyte is one of these guys. Like, I don't want to say that I don't want to say he's underrated, but I think that this could be a potential one of these sleeper fights. And again, it goes back to the Crawford and Spence kind of thing, like where these guys are really talented, but there's some vulnerability there. Like Tyson Fury is a really good boxer, but he's vulnerable. Chin is suspect. All his fights are somewhat theatrical. Dylan Whyte has a nice jab. Powerful guy. More of an elusive. He's not as strong as Wilder, obviously. But you collaborate Fury's vulnerabilities and Dylan Whyte's abilities, and you may get a good fight on Saturday afternoon. I'm not saying he's going to win. But if he was to upset Fury, it wouldn't shock me. I tell you that. Because another thing we got to factor in too is that is there any lingering effects from the Fury and Wilder fights? Right. Let's not forget, although he won those fights, he took some beatings in those fights. He was brutally. I've never seen nobody knock out and get up like that and then come back and win. He was like knocked completely out.
He got dropped 4 times in 3 of those fights.
And don't tell me that doesn't take a toll on a fighter, because it does. Then again, I'm not saying that he's going to win, but you have to factor all these things in. And I just think, it could be one of these weird, nobody watches it over here. And Did you see what happened last night? Type of situation. Again, I'm picking Fury to win the fight, but wouldn't shock me, bro.
It really would put. I mean, look, I'm with you, man. Like, I mean, Fury on paper should win this. He's the better boxer.
No doubt.
He's bigger in general. I mean, he's the better boxer. He's bigger.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah, and you know, he really should neutralize a lot of what Dillian White's gonna bring. But at the same time, man, it really is one of those things where there are lingering effects where he gets hit with something that because listen, Dillian White has power. I mean, we can't like excuse that or dismiss it. And even the fact that like he got knocked out by Povetkin and then he came back and knocked him out like really bad. You know, you have to think like there is some reserve there. But then you kind of wonder, like, all right, like, granted, Dillian White and Deontay Wilder are different fighters.
No doubt.
Both reliant on their power for the most part. But I guess I'm wondering if there's something that Dillian White's bringing that is going to be that much more dangerous than what he's seen with Wilder.
Right.
You know, those 3 fights. So it's
Wilder,
I mean, if I'm
big, way bigger, because it was funny looking at Dillian White next to Fury, how much smaller. I mean, he's a big guy, but Fury looks small considering how towering and imposing Wilder was. You know, but again,
the fact, no, I was saying you're right, and the fact that he, even with Wilder, though he was still a little bigger than Wilder height wise, not that much, he still neutralized Wilder's. He managed to keep Wilder here with a guy that had, you know, just about the same reach as he did. You know, but granted, Wilder's not as skilled a boxer to be able to, you know. But then to your point, Dillian White is much smaller, packs a big punch, but I can almost see this where Fury's just on all cylinders and, you know, again, didn't slack off or anything. Where this could be an easy night for him, you know, like I could see it like that too, where he's just the smaller guy and him keeping him at bay, and or it might like where we see where it might be, like an action-packed fight. I mean, it could be like a 12-round snoozer for the most part, where he just outboxes him for 12 rounds, you know. So
I think I do think Dillian White will probably be stopped in this fight. I think I mean, you're right. It could go the distance. I just think that he's probably going to go for the kill because of everything. I think that they think that he got some miles on. And listen, that may be true. Like, I think that
you're right.
He gets debated because he won, but those are physical fights. I mean, he dominated the last fight, but he got knocked down, like you said, 4 times.
4 times but in that trilogy, he got knocked down 4 times.
Do you think? So, even like Ortiz, right? Even though him and Wilder only fought 1 time, but there's some lingering effects from Ortiz fighting Wilder.
Right.
Like, I don't know what Wilder opponents and what they look like afterwards, but they fought 3 times. So, like, you know, we got to put that out there.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's crazy. Nobody's talking about this fight. Like it's not even happening. It's like people in the boxing world only care about 2 names right now.
Yeah, pretty
even
much.
Even Crawford fighting at the end of the month in 2 weeks.
Yep.
They stole Porter. Bud and Spence had sucked the air out of boxing. Sucked the air out of it.
And to think it's not even official yet. I mean, as far as
nothing's official, we don't know no dates. You know, there's some speculation dates out there. There's some arena speculations out there.
Yeah,
everybody got it all figured out. But we'll get to that. But
yeah, man. But I mean, I like Fury in the fight, so that I mean, that's for us East Coasters.
I'm just getting sidetracked by the fight in the background. That's Mugabe.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like I'm listening to you, but I'm like looking at. Look at the classic.
Yeah, that was a hell of a fight, man.
Yes, it was.
But yeah, all right. So this weekend, man. You know, we were at Jerry's World, our favorite place, right? And we saw the return of Errol Spence yet again. You know, this is the second time we've seen him come off. I would, in relation to the injury he came back from, or the circumstances he came back from prior. You know, obviously the car accident was something we were like really more concerned about. This time around, he had the semi-detached retina. Going into the fight, he said it's repaired, everything's good. And as far as how he looked, you know, Errol Spence, man, look, I thought this fight was going to be difficult early. I think we all did. But more of the Errol Spence of old kind of showed up, man. I mean, if there's any comparison to make to what we saw when he came against Danny, we saw a much more efficient Errol Spence. He was in a tougher fight, but I think the guy that almost like the seek and destroy Errol Spence that will walk you down showed up Saturday night, man. And I mean, I think a lot of questions were answered as far as his condition. You know, we all thought, right, like if he was in everything was intact, he should win this fight hands down. Man, and that's pretty much how it went down, man. How did you see it?
Well, first and foremost, I want to harp on something you said that I've been thinking about. You said it about probably like a couple shows ago about Bud and Spence, but we were more so talking about Bud. You was like, I don't know if it's been fighters. Maybe you can go with Bernard. He's probably the outlier here that had another gear that they can go into in their latter part of their 30s. And it's interesting because Bud he'll be 35. One could argue that he's reaching like his, because everybody's saying they're not in their prime, but we kind of see it differently, you and I. We see it as they're even enter another realm that they can go to, you know.
Yeah.
And then you look at Spence. He's been out of the ring 17 months. Mind you, he only has 29 fights or something like that. He only have 30 fights.
He doesn't have 30. Yeah.
Been out of the ring, 17 months this time. How long was he out last time for the
about the same, give or take?
So almost 4 years, almost like a Ray Leonard situation. He's been out of the ring almost 4 years. So one could argue that his body is preserved because that's a lot of wear and tear that he hasn't put on his body. But the mere fact that I think that at 32 years old, he is yet another realm of gear that he's getting ready to go into, is kind of scary because I saw an interview Porter earlier said pre-accident Spence, like I got him in his prime. But one could argue that maybe this is his prime because if you look at how many fights he had, how many big fights he's been in, it's not a huge sample size, you know, like your traditional fighter, you know, because 4 years out and just how the schedule of boxing worked out. Because remember, early on, Spence was kind of being treated like Crawford within his own stable. Remember, Keith Thurman didn't want to fight him.
Right.
Danny didn't want to fight him. That's why he put that tweet up the other day. I told y'all I'm turning the table on all y'all little PBC guys. They had nothing to do with Bud. This was talking about the stable mates. So you fast forward to all that stuff that happens. He gets in the ring with Ugas. You and I said last week, if he stands in front of him, that's a death sentence. And I just think that a guy like Spence, you saw when he fought Mikey Garcia, decided to be some boxer. You know, pull out some more wrinkles to his arsenal and show I don't have to step on the gas and knock this guy out. I'm going to show you some other stuff that I can do. I think another misconception with Spence is that he's like Margarito, which he's not. Like where Margarito, and it's no diss to Margarito, but Margarito was a guy that would eat 20 punches just to get 3 off, you know.
Yeah.
Where Spence, there's an educated jab, what he does, exceptional footwork. He does this little thing where he puts his shoulder in your chest, these little trickery nuances that kind of put wear and tear on opponents. And he's able, like, you know, you look at maybe Triple G in modern day boxing was a guy that cut the ring off. But really, fighters don't know how to cut the ring off. So what they do is they complain about fighters running and moving around too much. But when you got guys that know how to meet you at a certain spot and cut you off, cut your lanes off. This is the things that he does, and I think Ugas really didn't, because people was like, well, why didn't he go to another gear? I don't think Ugas could go to another gear because you and I, we talked about this. He's a stationary fighter. He's not elusive like Rigondeaux or Lar and these guys. He's a guy that really, he's shifty pocket guy, and he can catch you off misses. But Spence was just punching with them, wearing him down, and the rest is history. You know, other than the snafu mouthpiece situation, Ugas didn't have no wow moments in this fight. You know, he was dominating. I mean, he was catching Spence with a straight right hand, jabbing to the body early on, but Spence adjusted like most great fighters do, and there you have it. Took a beat. Yeah, man. Took a bad beat in this fight. Broken
down the stretch.
Yeah.
Down the stretch. I mean, you started to see it, I think, after like the 4th, 5th round. Spence just kind of found he saw Ugas wasn't going anywhere, so little by little he just started tagging the body, and then and I gotta say, man, the ref job for this fight was a lot of like just weird stoppage. Like it's just like
very weird. Yeah, that ref. I don't want to go in on this particular ref, but he doesn't have the best track history of things that sport. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, man. So
I can name some other fights where he was in, and
yeah, I know what you're saying.
Some of these guys got to make themselves be a part of the fight instead of letting the fight play out.
Right. That's like the best way to put it. Yeah. But I mean, I think beyond that, Spence he just attacked the body, and then Ugas again wasn't going to move. So little by little, when you hit the body, your hands come down, and then the left, the right hooks and that left hand just started just landing repeatedly, and then you just, it was just enough. Enough was enough, and then you could argue like they could have stopped that fight even earlier than that, but it was a wrap. Why am I thinking was it the 9th round?
Well, after the snafu happened with the mouthpiece, Spence just went to town on him. After that, it was because it's psychologically for a fighter, even though it wasn't a real real situation where he was hurt. Psychological. Even when a fighter slips, you notice he turns it up. You think you knocked me down. Okay, well, I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna even the skids on you. One up you, and I'm gonna go to town on you. Now I think that was the worst thing that could have happened to Ugas.
Yeah.
But Spence looked great. He was fouled. This was a world champion that he fought off a 17-month. Like, look, Ugas, everybody can't do this. Porter, I know Styles been fights and all that. Porter went, life and death with him. So it's a guy that's he's not a slouch. It's just that, we always talk about these levels. That's why we want these two guys to fight, because we just feel like their level's better than everybody else.
Right, man, and to segue into
the
obvious elephant in the room at this point. I mean, listen, I think it's pretty obvious where all the roads are headed. You know what I'm saying? And
you and I always had confidence. Just full disclosure, when everybody was saying the fight wouldn't happen and this and that, we always held hope that they really had nowhere to go, both of these guys, and it would happen eventually.
Right. And I think we're here. Like, I think we're finally here, to the point of I don't think Crawford's going to fight anybody else next. I think this is the fight.
We also said that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think the fact that he's calling, we've never seen Spence call out Crawford in the manner that he's doing, with the social media posts and opening the doors and all this stuff, and Crawford coming back saying, "Hey, keep my belts warm."
Right.
I think we're here, man. And I think the fact that we've seen now Errol Spence say, the whole 60-40, 70-30 talk, it was all BS. I wouldn't even accept that, and da-da-da. Like, they both know what's up. This is, I guess, to both the Crawford fans and the Spence fans, but listen, both guys, because you're gonna get it, and it's part of sport.
Absolutely, yeah.
But this is a situation unlike Mayweather Pacquiao, where you had two guys that, if they never fought each other, you could still grab benchmark wins for them.
Yeah.
And listen, they made millions.
Yep.
In the whole nine. But this fight between Crawford and Spence, just for their careers, for the era, is way more meaningful. Is it gonna do 4 million buys? No. You know what I'm saying? But not every fight has to.
Right.
But I think this is a really, really, really rare occasion where you have two of the very best. I mean, listen, man, American fighters undefeated in the same weight class, in and around 1 to 3 to 4 pound for pound in the world, fighting in their biggest fight individually of their careers.
Right. So much is on the line.
For the undisputed welterweight championship.
Good parallel about Pacquiao and Mayweather, because no matter what happened in that fight, it didn't change anything. That fight was more so about, all right, whoever wins this fight, I guess you could say they're the best fighter of that particular decade or that era or whatever. But even with that, it still kind of lost its luster, because by the time they met, so much had transpired. Pacquiao was knocked out by Marquez. You know, obviously Floyd didn't lose, but the fight just, and to be honest with you, I never watched that fight again. I watched it that one time. Have you ever watched it again? I never watched it again. It's not like the fight in the back of you that I've watched 1,000,001 times, you know. So that's what's so intriguing about this fight. And it's like, I just want everybody to kind of like fester and enjoy the moment from both sides. You know, the build up, the lead up. You know, I see people. It's funny because the build up is so much animosity between the two groups. You know, they both got two sets of loyal fans, where I think guys like you and I, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really have a rooting interest in this fight, because both guys to me are so great for the sport. You know, like they're doing it the old school way, fighting champions after champions after well, especially for a few champions. Now Crawford, obviously, due to a contract situation, has moved on, and you know he wants to fight the best. He's talking about moving up to 154 after this. So it's happening in the latter part of their career, but it's an old school mindset to what they're doing. And I just think that this fight is going to be such a great fight. Both guys, I talked about this earlier, both guys are vulnerable. Both got, look, Blood got the tools and the skills to make it a certain fight. Spence got some hidden tools that he show every now and again, and he doesn't show. And I just think that it's going to bring out the best in both fighters, and whichever one make the most mistakes is probably the one that's going to have a hand raised. But I think it's going to be a really good fight. I think it's the ultimate 50-50 fight.
This is one of those fights where I feel it's going to live up to the hype. Like, I really feel that, because I think they're, like, even again, to parallel Mayweather Pacquiao, for me, like, there's more on the line here. Like, those guys it was like, to call it anything, it was a cash grab.
Yeah, it was a cash grab, right?
Now, mind you, this is, we can't ignore this is going to be Crawford and Spence's biggest paydays, but I think for their legacy, when we see what's behind us here, man, I mean, and I'd even go further. We talked about, we talked about this fight, but, we talk about Leonard Hearns. We talk about like Tito and De La Hoya, which, granted, like, that was a fight that didn't live up to the hype, but the fact that, like, it happened in the time that it happened, when them two dudes were like 25, 26 years old.
Right.
I mean, it's what we call for, man. And I think Crawford and Spence, even Crawford hitting 35 by potentially the time this fight happens, I still think they're at a point in their careers where we're going to get, maybe the last best of both guys, man. Let's be honest, depending on the fight goes.
This could, Father Time is undefeated, and this could cap, either guy or both guys off, because I think it's going to be I just got this belief it's going to be a physical fight. I just think that
I think down the stretch it is.
I think down the stretch. I just think that, and I was telling Rada this. I said the thing about Crawford is that you look at a guy like Andre Ward. I'm gonna just use him as an example. Andre Ward goes into a fight. I don't have no plans on getting hit. Now, has he been hit? Of course he has. He's been dropped by Kovalov. But that wasn't his game plan to go in. His game plan is to crowd you, and I'm going to make the fight ugly. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get shots off in the inside. I'm going to just outbox you. Where Crawford is whatever's going on that day. And I'm going to fight my way out of trouble versus, listen, he's not James Toney or Floyd where I'm going to base my offense based on defense. Where Crawford is more so, I'm going to get out of trouble. My offense is my defense, basically. Yeah. So when a guy is an offensive-minded fighter, it sets up vulnerability to take place. Not saying that, again, I don't want to get into predictions yet, but it's just that that's what makes this fight so intriguing, that both guys are willing and able to turn this into like a shootout, basically. Because it's just who they are. I just feel like when fighters get into trouble or they get hit, and when Bud sticks that tongue out like he does, you know how this stuff goes. Right? I just watched it anywhere. Ray Leonard, he was just, because Crawford reminds me of Ray Leonard a lot. He just said he took it personal when somebody punched him in the face.
Shot to Jordan, yeah.
Yeah, he just said he took it personal. I don't know, man. This is what I'm saying.
This is why this fight is so huge, man, because very seldom do we get two guys at this level.
That's what I was
fighting at this stage of their careers, man. And look, this is the perfect time, man. This fight's gonna make, and I wouldn't even say break career. I mean, I think because of how good this fight is gonna be. I mean, look, we could be talking rematch at 154. Like we talked about that earlier.
Listen, Roberto, I was joking with you, right? But I was serious. I had a crowd of people here last Saturday. I haven't watched a fight with a group of people in quite some time. But and these aren't like boxing fans. These are just guys who watch big fights like your people.
Yeah.
Everybody wait. Normally when a fight go off, like people that's not really into it, they grab their jacket and they leave. Not a person moved. And they kept telling Jim Gray to shut up, get to where we need to get to. These aren't the hard boxing guys. They like, soon as they made the announcement, everybody in the room was like, "Oh, I'm going."
Yo, what did I tell you about wifey, man?
Yeah.
Like she don't watch all the fights. I mean, back in the day, because obviously she's Puerto Rican, the Cotto fights,
right?
Back in the day, the Trinidad fights, but she knows about Spence. She knows about Crawford and Canelo, obviously, the big names, but to the point when she saw the post fight and she saw him call out Crawford and then like the stuff on social media, she even asked me like,
"What's
and
up?"
Again, she don't follow anything.
Right.
She's like, what did Crawford respond with? And I'm like, yo, now I know we're at a fever pitch when I got like that happening. It's what they needed it to be.
Even Canelo chimed in and was like, he's like, this has to happen. Speaking of Canelo, I'll let you the date that's being rumored for this fight, which is his month.
I mean, you were telling me earlier, man. I mean, nothing's official.
Nothing's official, but it's just some rumblings out there that
just again, the whole point that Crawford's been very quiet. Right,
very quiet,
and Spencer's putting up all these social media posts. It's just
selling the fight.
Just so much cryptic stuff going on that you have to wonder if there's just things
a deal in place. You know,
like already in place, man.
I always felt the deal was in place.
Yeah,
before
man.
The guys fight,
right?
Gag order. It's just, to me, like Spence don't move like this one. So he's never moved like this. So the way he's moving, and obviously he couldn't move because he had a fight. Even when he's not a big social media guy.
No,
he's been on there nonstop.
Like for the most part, yeah, right.
He's on there. They just put up some random pictures or training, but you never really see him talk trash about other fighters on social media like that. So it's like nothing talk trash. He's selling up a fight here, but it's just like I just got this feeling that the deal's in place. I think it's a handshake agreement. So it's probably right, like you said earlier. What's probably being worked out is two things: back end money and probably the location of where the fight. We know it's going to probably be in Vegas. It's just the question is, where is it going to be? Other than a stadium, I don't see where you can have this fight at anywhere else.
I mean, listen, we're hearing you have brought it to my attention, and I was kind of surfing around. Listen, we're here. They're trying to do this. What, September?
September 10th, which is 2 days before the Wook and Nas concert, by the way.
For you, my joint is going to be on a Tuesday, man.
Oh man, well, at least it's not that weekend, because that would be right. Saturday.
Yeah, right.
To give it some room, we just will have to get some rest on Sunday. That's all.
But yo, think about this: if they're able to do it, and because here's the thing, man. Like I thought about it at one point. I'm like, man, they can't kick Canelo off of that date. But then I started to think about it, and I'm like, between a third Canelo Triple G fight, and listen, this is us saying right now, without us even seeing Canelo and Bivol fight. And look, we haven't gotten to that yet. Right. But we don't know, man. Like we don't know yet what's happening in that fight. I mean, well, meaning like we haven't seen the fight yet, regardless of what we think right now. But the fact that I started to think about it, I'm like, man, you know what? Crawford and Spence is a bigger fight. Even commercially, because
it is.
I think that's a fight where the casual fans can be sold on goods that they've never had, that when you look at it on paper, it doesn't look like expired meat or expired chicken. You know what I'm saying?
Sign and still this. If people think Crawford is going into this fight and getting on some bicycle, and that's just how the fight's going to go, you're absolutely insane. That's not happening. I'm not saying that it's not going to be, he's going to be fighting from a distance, but if you think that's how the fight's going to go, like he's just going to pot shot all night, first of all, Earl Spence is too good to just be teed off on and pot shot. Like, that's not happening. Yeah. Second of all, there are going to be some close moments in this fight. So,
for sure.
To your point, I'm just illuminate what you're saying, people know this. Like, they know that Crawford last 10 fights ended in knockouts. Spence, every time he seemed like he's winning, he's picking these belts up, he's stopping somebody, so it's the perfect storm. And the people been clamoring. This is where we got to give the boxing public their props, because sometimes, even like with like pro team sports, they say that like the owners and general managers say they don't listen to fans, but then they'll go do something, maybe start somebody that was on the bench, or go get a wide receiver when they said they wasn't getting the receiver. Fans sometimes can drive. I just think drive a situation. I think in this instance, people clamor, guys like us, other boxing pages, the people out there, talk this fight up so much, going back to that A word, the algorithms. They look on social media, they see all the traffic. And you know this, Roberto, anytime we put up anything about Crawford or Spence, that's the most traffic we get on the page. Hands down. Man. I put up a tweet yesterday, and it was from Crawford.
Here's another thing I thought about, man, that's kind of like maybe an underlying thing as it concerns maybe Showtime. And the fact that they couldn't acquire Canelo to get that deal, right? What would be the best way to upstage him is if they put this fight and say, hey, man, well, look, you have your deal, but we got this fight, because the Showtime's, their fall lineup isn't mapped out. They have no pay-per-view scheduled. They really, on the surface, when you think about what they can do, they really have nothing big fight-wise.
Purple tape the date. Purple tape it. Purple tape the date.
I mean, I'm just saying. I think that is, to me, like I don't think they'd want to like do something just in spite of Canelo Alvarez. But I mean, I think personally, man, like that could be a situation, man, where it's like, look, this is the bigger fight, man. We're not gonna wait to November just because you're Canelo Alvarez. We're taking the September date.
The music industry was the same way. I'm joking about Raekwon, Cuban Links. Reasonable Doubt, people don't know this, was supposed to come out when Purple Tape came out, when Cuban Links came out. Jay said it himself. The Purple Tape had delayed. Yeah, they looked at it like our buzz is hot right now. Nobody knew Cuban Links was going to be Cuban Links, but they had confidence that the Woo is buzzing right now. We putting this album out. Get at us. Like if you think you can uphold, I don't know what Cuban ends up doing sell-wise, but same thing in boxing. Like, first of all, the pay-per-view module is not even all the way etched in stone here in America. So good luck with that.
Have you seen one commercial for the Canelo Bivol fight?
Until you brought it up the other day, I'm gonna be honest with you, I totally forgot about it. I'm thinking this further. I didn't, because you know what happened is with COVID and everything, Tom, like we still kind of, it just seemed like one long day. With we're starting to get back in the right direction, but Tom is elapsing on us. So when you said it the other day, I'm like, damn, May is already here. No commercials, nothing. But it's crazy.
I mean, now what I will say though, in the later years, and I guess this is because the way we absorb things, like you notice how they've started doing promos like a couple of weeks, like before a fight or something. Right. Where remember Floyd's mantra used to be, like, oh, you need 6 months to build a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
These days it's sometimes 2 weeks. I think when Crawford spends, that one deserves the red carpet rollout. And
one thing too, we got to touch base on too, is another reason why they went to September date. It's kind of unfair to Crawford if you keep him out the ring for a year.
Yeah.
You feel me? Even though he could do it, but why would you want to be at any disadvantage going into the biggest fight of your career? But I gotta believe, you know how these guys' bodies work. He's probably like, I don't want to push it past October.
Yeah. That's almost a year again.
Yes, and then you're going into the year because September, even though it don't seem like a lot, those two, because he fought what in November? When he fought
November.
Okay, so those 2 months makes the world of a difference, for a fighter. But I just think that that's the date you keep hearing, September 10th. That's the whispers that's out there. So, it's just gonna be crazy.
I mean, look, as far as
people breaking it down like the fight is signed already. Like Porter, all these these guys are doing breakdowns like the fight's happening.
I know.
So they know.
The thing with Canelo and Triple G3 though is like that ain't cemented in stone, number one. And number two, like they'd have to like sit and negotiate that fight in essence, like where it's gonna be and when it's gonna be. That's not. So who's to say that they just say, hey, like we're fighting on that date? And then if Canelo wants to go ahead and fight on the same date, then I would say be my guest.
I was watching this documentary on Steven Spielberg, and they was like they had to get his calendar before they released movies. They was all these big time execs. He would bring out these blockbuster movies, Jurassic Parks, not Back to the Future. What's the Goonies? Like all of these big time movies that he would bring out. They was like you stayed away from that. This fight, people, Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, they're not crazy. They know that wherever that fight is, we need at least a month away from that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be anticlimactic any other reason. Because I'm looking at the fight and back of you. This is the trajectory of this fight is all that. It's 80s. We can't really pull from the 90s. We gotta go back to the 80s. That's what you're getting with these two guys. You gotta go back almost 3 decades ago.
This is again, man. This is like you had brought up like the comparison of Leonard Hagler. Like I mentioned Leonard Hearn.
You said Hearn. You feel like it's gonna be more Leonard Hearn.
It's that level of a fight, though. It is that level of a fight. Canelo Triple G3 is not that level of a fight.
No, it's not. It's a cash grab.
It is. And look, man, this is
Top Gun the remake, which I just saw the preview for.
Yo, man, but The special effects on that joint might be
No,
kind
I
of
mean, I'm
wild.
gonna see it because I just love that type of stuff. But it's still it's a cash grab.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Goose son. I'm like, oh, this is the typical cash grab story.
Yo,
Got him
Val
looking
killed me
just
on
like
Val
him.
killed.
Yeah.
Freaking no, but I think I mean it's gonna be interesting to see like these next few weeks if there's legitimate push, because there was the other part of it where Crawford's management company MTK Global MTK.
Okay.
If you guys read up on that, I'm not gonna go
Oh,
into
that
that.
story. Yeah.
When you read up on what's going on over there,
Yeah.
that's a whole crazy situation. And even Stephen Espinosa had mentioned something like, yeah, that could be an issue. But I don't know, man. Like something tells me that they've had to, man. Like they've had to be, because we know Bud and Spence have talked individually. So you have to think if he's already calling for this, meaning Spence,
It's done.
it's only a matter of time, I feel.
The
Before,
handshake. It's just a matter of getting it on paper. This fight is so easy to make now. We were talking about lines. I think that both fighters want it so bad. Like concessions going to be made. It's going to be small little sacrifices here and there. Fights in Vegas. The venue, of course. I think. I'm going to get back to the venue part. The reason why it has to be at Vegas Stadium where the Raiders play is because they're blue collar guys. These aren't like flashy, flamboyant guys that a big ticket. This isn't like Tyson fighting or De La Hoya or Floyd or Pacquiao, where these are big ticket fighters. These aren't big. That's another thing. People resonate. You got Hagler in the background. People resonate because he's a blue collar. You rarely get two blue collar guys that's stars like this.
Yeah. Right.
Normally one is the flashy guy, the flame. No, they're two. They're two Haglers, to be honest with
you.
From that perspective.
Right. They have the mantra of being people's champions for their own particular fan bases. You know what I'm saying? So it's all because like that fight. I mean, that was the era before us, but I mean, we studied it.
We know.
Ray
Right.
was always the superstar, the
he
pretty
was the boy.
That
he had the commercials and
Hagler got that after when Ray had to bow out, but he always was having to compete with that.
Yeah.
So that would but this is an instance where you got two blue collar guys that seem like everyday people. So that get into like everyday stuff,
Crawford.
I mean, but think about it, like even from Spence's perspective, like the accident and everything.
Right. Just regular everyday. You're watching like people go through peaks and valleys in their lives,
right? Like the human element, right?
The human element,
just
I got you.
Yeah.
So the stadium thing is why the blue collar thing is important because you can't freeze the blue collar fan out.
Yeah.
You get into these casinos, like if the fight's at the MGM, that means every ticket is going to be high as hell, and it freezes out the everyday working person. Where when you got a fight in a stadium, you can have your lowest ticket being at $100. So that allows people at least to get in the building because you got a jumbotron where you can watch the fight up there if you're in the nosebleeds. So that's why I think it has to be in a stadium because both of them got like that college football like atmosphere crowd that follows them. Both of them.
And let me tell you something. They sell those. They put those tickets on sale. It'll sell out in less than 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, we already talked about that. Like how you're gonna have everybody gonna have to be on like because what happens with these tickets is the different from back in the day is that you got all these brokers, these online brokers.
Oh yeah.
So they snatch all these tickets up and mark up the price. Same like the sneaker game, like they do with the sneakers.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah.
So you go on StubHub. I'm just naming one of the companies out there. So you go on StubHub and the tickets is I don't know. Let's just say $180 to get in. And then people buy for, notice they limit how many you can buy. And then you go on another site, they sell them same $185 tickets for $385.
Right.
Me and Ryder, I forget where he said he was going. I think to a concert or something. He hit me. I said, bro, that's the norm now. I think the ticket was like $150 a piece. He like, for him and his lady. I'm like,
I told you the concert I'm
I
going to.
remember. Yeah. That's it's the norm though.
It is these days. I mean, prices have gone up, man. I mean, it
Yeah.
just makes sense. But to your point, for them to have that fight like in Allegiant Stadium, number one, it's still in Vegas. You're still gonna have the Vegas element. The casinos are still gonna they're still gonna make money, but you're having the fight and the aura of it what it deserves. You know, because even Mayweather Pacquiao, to me, like you would have thought they would have went that route, right? But they really went the cash route, and the cheapest ticket was like $900.
We can admit it now that it's over. It was the biggest cash grab. I mean, it wasn't like Hearns and Leonard too, and even though that wasn't the magnitude of that.
Was a better fight, though.
It actually was about it. It was drama and theatric. And I mean, you can't listen. Floyd is Floyd. Like he makes these guys, But still, though, it was still a fight way past the originality. And I don't want to go back down that rabbit hole of blood tests and all that. The bottom line is, it wasn't what you're getting. Like you brought up Trinidad and De La Hoya. I think people get in their feelings when you be like, well, De La Hoya was the more skilled guy. Trinidad was a skilled guy who was limited with some things. So you had what you had. And again, it goes back to guys, De La Hoya for a boxer style, safety, hit, not be hit. Not that Crawford doesn't consider himself a boxer, Spence, what have you. But these guys, they just different. They're high level. That's why I said the last time you had guys at this level who didn't mind risking it all was the 80s. Roy and James Toney they didn't go in fights planning to get hit. I mean, James Toney got hit in the Roy, but his whole game plan was built on slipping punches. Yeah. I mean, attacking you off the slips, but Sweet Pea Chavez, even though he dominated Julio Cesar Chavez, but Pernell was a guy. He didn't plan on going toe-to-toe with him. That was never in the cards, under no circumstances.
No. That's not to say he wouldn't throw, but
you know what I'm saying. Just, these two guys here, like the game plan to get balled up and thrown out the window.
Yeah. That's why I think early on it's going to be a high-level chess match.
High level.
And then it's going to turn into a fight. Not in a way where it's just gonna be like a bar fight.
Yeah,
there's gonna be high level,
some high level tactical,
high level offense going on, man.
Mission ops, going on. But I guess we'll have a whole lot of time. It's just what it is it's something you've been waiting on for so long, just speaking into existence. Just the fact that it's a reality now.
Yeah.
Everybody, and it's not just us. You go on Instagram, that's all you see. It's quotes from here, and so I'm looking forward to it, bro.
I'm hyped, man. I mean, and to think like we still got fights that are happening that we
got Charlo Castaño,
that's
Oscar Valdez, Shakur Stevenson, Fury, White,
Dillian White this weekend.
I mean, just to start things off, Canelo Bivol, which could be a fight.
I mean, I'm saying.
I mean, we picking Canelo, but I mean, this could potentially be something, So all this stuff is like flying under the radar right now. This is the first time Canelo, since he's been in this seat where he's kind of been. And granted, he's gonna make his money and all that, but this is the first time I can recall where he's been kind of irrelevant because of another fighter
that's going on. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
First down.
Craziness, man. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I guess
any other news? I'm trying to think. It was something else that went down. I can't even Cambosis Haney. That's coming up.
as far as fights come out, I
was just saying how stuff just got lost after this weekend. I forgot all about. That's a huge fight right there. That's for the lightweight supremacy
on ESPN.
Yeah.
So yeah, got a lot to look forward to, man.
What time is this Fury fight coming on again on Saturday?
5:30 p.m. Well, the main event. If you're gonna order the pay-per-view.
Oh, it starts at 5:30.
2 o'clock start time.
Oh, the main event. I got you.
The main event, 5:30.
I mean, I guess that's not too bad, but to your point, we're in the middle of the NBA. I mean, I'm just saying from a wide lens of
yeah, man. I mean,
yeah. Now, I'll watch it, but
yeah,
I don't know. So,
but we'll see, man. We'll touch base. Maybe next time we hop on,
we'll have a date.
Kind of
I'm gonna make a prediction. I think that date is going to be announced. When will Canelo fight?
2 weeks, man.
It'll be within the next 2 weeks. That date is happening. The announcement's coming. Because you gotta, like you said, you gotta play chess with this.
That'll be crazy if they take that date. Yet again from Canelo.
Floyd and do a press conference the night of the Canelo fight.
That's like Floyd stuff.
That's what I'm saying. The Marquez fight out of nowhere. Like I remember watching the fight was just out of nowhere. They're like, yeah, Floyd fighting Marquez. I'm like, what?
Yeah, huh?
Remember he was retired at the time, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you got love. All right, bro.
Man, we're out. Follow us on everywhere. We're on Spotify.
We'll be talking about this nonstop.
Oh yeah, this is for the next until the fight happens. This
until
is
it happens.
Talk.
Yeah.
Pretty much, man. In any case, we are out.
All right, my dude.
Check y'all.
Peace.